Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me today is a brand new guest, and this is somebody that you probably have read about, heard of, but this is the first time he's appearing in person on PGurus channel, and we have some groundbreaking information to discuss with him. So my request to all of you, please like this video, and also if you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. I am with Sundar Iyer, the person who was accused of discrimination in the CRD, California Rights Department versus Cisco case. And we are going to discuss a few things first with the SB 403 and also with the three aspects of this discrimination case. So here we go. Let's welcome Sundar Iyer. Sundar, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Yeah, hey Sree, thanks for having me. Thank you. Yeah, been a big fan of the show. I've been following you guys, but yeah, thank you for doing this in person. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sundar. And we now are at a very pivotal point in the politics of California. The governor, Gavin Newsom, has essentially refused to sign the SB 403 into law. And then this is going to, find its way and go out. Next year, probably they'll try to reintroduce it, or they'll, whatever, we don't know what the other side is going to be planning. But we do know that to some extent, the Hindu Americans of California got blindsided initially, but then they woke up and they put up a fight. And Sundar, you have been talking to many legislators as this SB 403 was doing the rounds. For example, it started with the Senate Judiciary Committee, then you had the Senate vote on it, then you had the Assembly go through their Judiciary Committee, and then the Assembly voted on it. Through all this stuff, you probably got in touch with many legislators. Talk to us a little bit about the experiences. How well did they know what they were voting on?
Yeah, sure. Maybe just to give some backstory, right? In April of 2023, the CRD dropped the case, right? And so once they dropped the case, I also found that, okay, SB 403 is going on. So I said, let me try and understand what's going on. And just for clarity, right, my focus has always been on the process of what's going on in the bill, helping disseminate the truth, making sure that someone doesn't treat allegations as facts and things of that sort, right? So all of this has been very new to me, and in terms of understanding legislators and bills and stuff. And I've mentioned this before, I don't take a final position on the bill going in. I take a final position on the process of how things are done, right? So I think this was roughly April or May when I started talking to legislators just to understand the dynamics of the bill and what sort of data is being used. I talked to Josh Becker, who's the local Bay Area senator, and a bunch more, and some of the Republicans, Democrats, the progressives, whoever I could, at least be able to tell my part of the story, right? One thing that bothered me a lot is, they use the Cisco case liberally, right? And it's a very sad thing because, and they made that a centerpiece, right? There's the Cisco case that was a centerpiece. There's the Equality Lab survey, which is sort of the second pillar of SB 403, and then there's Senator 𝗼𝗲 and all of her actions. And my main focus is really, I know about the first thing, which is the Cisco case, and so I just wanted to share the truth and mostly tell people, hey, allegations are not facts, right? And so make sure that you discount things that are not yet true. Right? So that's just a quick summary of how I've gone through the process.
Thank you so much. And I'm just going to bring up a slideshow just to kind of give our viewers what were the charges on 3 or 4 things that they used to come up with the charges. Can you have the slideshow, please? The CRD was using the power of the state together with Equality Labs, also the primary sponsor of SB 403, via activism and now legislation seek to explicitly insert caste into non-discrimination law. Now, the problem here is, most of us, when we saw this thing, saw that this was redundant because there is an ancestry law that is much more broad-based in California in place. So why was the need for this? And they just couldn't explain why this so. Instead of doing that, they went about it in a much more brazen way, if you will, for me, Sundar. But let's go, this will go to in some detail, but let's go back to your experiences with legislators. To me, when I heard some people tell me, for example, that, just give me 1 second. When I heard some people tell me that, look, when, because by the time people are talking to them, the case against you and Ramana had been dropped. And then also they knew that the judge had thrown out the caste survey that Equality Labs had conducted.
That's
now,
right.
When people went to the lawmakers and told them, look, this is just to add to your point of allegations. Look, here are some facts. The whole basis for this is fraud because the judge has already thrown it out. It is not going to stand in a court of law. You know what some of the lawmakers said, Sundar? They said, we don't care about what the judiciary does. We are here to make laws. So there was a certain brazenness, if you will, hubris even, with some of these people saying that they don't tell us what you do, sort of also telling us that you don't tell us what we are going to legislate on. So if I can summarize, right, people who talked to the lawmakers said that they were hearing us, but they were not listening to us. Was that your experience too?
Yeah, so coming to this point about service, I've actually spent time with some of the progressive legislators. I've talked to on the Republican side, of course, separately, on the Democratic side, the progressives, and of course, centrist Democrats. The thing that bothered me the most with some of the conversations is essentially the survey, right? Which is, I've actually even gone deeper into conversation saying, have you asked any critical questions about the survey, right? Where are the sort of 10 to 40,000 Dalits that you claim have been physically assaulted or raped or spat upon, right? These are all claims by the CRD. And the brazenness of some of these answers, literally, I had a progressive legislator staffer said, oh, we don't care about, the judiciary, right? Essentially that. And I said, look, I'm not playing a, Hindu advocacy group here, right? I'm actually, I'm agnostic, I'm irreligious all my life. I'm not playing a person who wants you to vote a certain way on a bill. I'm just asking questions. I said, how do you allow a legislator to say that there are 10 to 40,000 heinous crimes committed by Hindu Americans and not even check that? Is that not racial profiling, right? And the guy couldn't give me an honest answer. And they would duck away. And that is what bothered me. And that's what bothers me even today. I look at this whole process and say, look, Senator 𝗣𝗚, it's like, good luck to you. You run a show, you're a freshman senator, you have a bill. If you win, you win. Great. But look at the process you take. I look at even today, like if you had won on SB 403 today, Senator 𝗣𝗚, how sad is that day where you pushed a bill through by calling Hindu and Indian Americans as, rapists, as people who committed physical assault? Is that true, Senator 𝗣𝗚, right? And so these are the things. I just care about the truth. I want to make sure that people are honest, whether it be our legislators, whether it be our CRD or anyone else. But
yeah. So Sundar, let's now go back to the meat of the case. Can we have the slide deck, please? Now I'm going to go to the next slide, and they unconstitutionally defined caste as a strict Hindu social and religious hierarchy. And I'm going to continue on, providing multiple court declarations that equate caste and Hinduism, submitting a caste survey by the founder of Equality Labs, who further affirmed the already well-known near-exclusive associations of caste to Indians and South Asians, and knowing that existing non-discrimination law specified in the facially neutral and generally applicable category of ancestry, I referred to this earlier also, already provides redress to the very rare cases of caste litigation. The reason I wanted to read through the entire thing, Sundar, was because this is exactly what Governor Gavin Newsom said, that this is redundant. In fact, he stopped short of saying that, it was a waste of taxpayer money, but he hit it right on.
Correct. Go ahead. And you brought up a very good nuance, and I wanted to explain this because there's so much disinformation about what's happening. So let's peel back everything in that slide and even what you said in slide 1. When the CRD brought the case against Cisco, they didn't say, oh, we have a caste discrimination case, let's put that under race and ancestry and file a lawsuit. They could have done that. It would have been fine. We have had cases of caste before under federal law, right? Caste or any claim under ancestry, or we have such broad categories, right? Religion, ancestry, nationality. They're all protected insofar as you well argue your claim. You got to write a claim and say why this is ancestral discrimination or why this is religious discrimination. They know that. The CRD knows that. But that's not what the CRD did. What the CRD did is that they said caste is a new protected category, right? Hey, I've come up with a new category, not just religion and blah, but a whole new category. And second thing they did is they defined that category as a Hindu religious hierarchy. So what did Cisco do? If you read the court documents carefully without all the propaganda, what Cisco did is a very simple legal nuance. It said, look, you don't get the right to create a new category. Caste is not a new category, is what Cisco said. It's simply fact. It's not. There are a very specific set of categories. And second, Cisco, of course, you cannot make caste as defined by the CRD a new category because it violates the First Amendment. You've just created a category that is based on a religion, right? That's all Cisco said. And then they said, insofar as you filed your claims under race and ancestry, we're defending those claims. Remember this. I mean, for all the crap that Cisco gets in the propaganda, look, large companies employ people. They are not, pardon my phrase, they're not assholes. They are normal, rational, proper people wanting to do the right thing. But if you look at the propaganda, there's like, oh, Cisco did not perceive caste as a category for discrimination. They allowed discrimination based on caste, blah, blah, blah. This is nonsense. Cisco's own response says that they looked at the complaint at least twice. And I can attest to the fact, I was the primary manager. Cisco was looking at the number of HR complaints that John Doe filed, the number of times we had to follow up. Not just me, he filed complaints against many different supervisors. So what I wanted to put out here is the CRD, it was trying to define a new category. And Cisco just said, you don't get the right to define a category. But insofar as you want to file a caste claim, go ahead and do it. Caste has been protected for ever since you've had ancestral laws from the 1963 civil rights laws, right? So you've had, you could file a caste claim under religion, under ancestry, under nationality, what have you. But you have to well argue those claims, right? That's all it is.
Thank you so much, Sundar. Now, there were three different aspects to this case. Kind of walk through those three different aspects because, see, there was, I mean, once viewers, you will make up your mind after you listen to these three different aspects. Sundar, over to you.
Sure, yeah. So the primary claim is a discrimination claim, right? So what is a discrimination claim is that John Doe, and we're going to call him John Doe because he filed anonymously, who happens to be a classmate of mine, he did not get the head of engineering position, right? And their claim against Cisco and me is that I didn't give him that position because he was Dalit, right? And Dalit being, of course, the lowest caste is what they define. Now, we pointed out that John Doe has never applied for the job. So what are you suing us for, right? And second, we pointed out, if you think I was bigoted against him because he's a Dalit, well, just remember, I hired the man. If I allegedly knew his caste, why would I go and hire someone who's Dalit, right? If I was bigoted against Dalits. Third, we pointed out that the position that John Doe says he was discriminated for was first awarded to another senior colleague who also self-identifies as Dalit, right? They couldn't care less on that discrimination claim. They still wanted to go ahead and sue. We even pointed out, and remember, I was running what is essentially a Cisco startup, right? This is a Cisco internal startup. We took all the funding from Cisco. I was the CEO of the group. We even pointed out that if you think I am bigoted against Dalits, you need to know this, that every leadership position in my group, every top leadership position in the group, there were three, right? Each of those was first awarded to the other senior colleague who was also self-identifying as a Dalit. It's also someone that I hired, right? So we told the CRD, you are going to go with the story of caste discrimination, Dalit discrimination, for the one group in Silicon Valley, for the one startup in Silicon Valley, where the CEO has given every leadership position to a Dalit, right? They hid all of that information from the judge. They hid that information from the press, and they went to party with it, right? That's the CRD for you, right? And that, I come back to the same topic, whether I'm discussing equality labs, whether I'm discussing the CRD, or whether I'm discussing Senator 𝗏𝗏𝗏, which is the topic of truth, which is, I asked the CRD, what is it that you're trying to do? You want to push and create this new category for caste based on what? Based on lying, hiding critical material evidence from a judge that every position went to a Dalit? Just not the Dalit that you're suing about, right? So it was quite insane and bizarre, the whole experience, right? So that's a discrimination claim in a nutshell, right? Um, then there's a second claim, which is on harassment. And now, before I come to harassment, I want to point out something. How do you create a discrimination claim, right? You got to create this whole concept of caste. So they went and said, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a Hindu, Brahmin, blah, and, Brahmin, of course, being a Hindu caste, and John Doe is Dalit. Their words. Well, it turns out that they interviewed me. I mean, we had 2 years before, a lawsuit, right? Mediation, subpoenas, blah, whatever. But they interviewed me and asked me my religion. They know I'm irreligious for all my life. In fact, there's a blog of mine from 25 years back in my grad school days at Stanford, and we even told them that, go look at it. I've identified myself as irreligious. How do you assign me a religion and a caste, right? You calling me Brahmin means you've identified me as Hindu, you've identified and given me a caste. What basis do you have? That's a violation of my First Amendment rights, right? We even told them, like, I've written short stories against caste, like, more than 10 years back, right? It's just so bizarre that a state can violate your First Amendment rights. They assigned me the caste. They assigned all of my group as upper caste. Literally, like, I had Muslims, I had Sikhs, I had Jains, I had, non-South Asians. Everyone is upper caste. Under what basis do you assign caste to all of my co-workers? That's the violation of their First Amendment rights. Anyway, so they did that. So you have that. And then they built a whole narrative that the whole group was entirely Indian. Not true, right? I had Asians, I had Europeans, I had Pakistani, I had, Americans, I had, white Americans, Hispanic. How much do you want to lie to build a narrative? So they did that. Okay, that's your narrative setting, which is fake, and then your discrimination claim, which is structurally false. Next, there's a second claim, which is harassment. Right? Now, just to define for the viewers, harassment is not about your workplace things; it's about your personal behavior. Right? When you say someone is harassed, it's a pretty serious charge. You would have to call somebody like the N word like 3 times or something pervasively to be sued, to be accused of harassment. So they named me and Ramana Kompella, right? The other person who I had also hired. They named both of us for harassment. Now let's take Ramana Kompella first. What is the state's worst claim against Kompella for harassment? It is that Ramana Kompella gave John Doe weekly status reports to be sent by John Doe. I don't know in which universe that constitutes harassment. Asking your employee to file weekly status reports every week is not harassment, right? And there are a lot more parallels to this. I'm just giving you the top end of the spectrum here, right? Or the tip of the iceberg. They also know that the request for John Doe to submit weekly status reports came from Ramana's boss, right? You have a white manager who's Ramana's boss, Tom Edsall, brilliant guy. Tom Edsall says, John Doe, thou shall, give weekly status reports, and Ramana's just following through. So the state knows this, ignores the fact that the request came from Tom Edsall, and it's just a normal request, not a harassment request. Puts that on Ramana, right? So you blame the brown guy for a white guy's diktat, and on a completely frivolous charge. That's the case of harassment against Ramana. For me, I have no idea what he claims harassment for, because John Doe's claims are all conclusive. John Doe says, I was harassed. I was disparaged. Bad things were said about me. That's not a harassment claim. You don't make a conclusory claim, right? Harassment means I told John Doe something, somewhere, someday, sometime with some witness. Nothing. In 8 years, the CRD has not alleged a single harassing statement that I've ever told John Doe. And I have a lot more, and this is what bothers me when I look at the CRD, which is, what is it that you're trying to do? Are you trying to win, or are you trying to speak the truth, right? Which axiom is more important for you? I look at Senator 𝗣𝗽 and ask her the same question. Are you trying to win, or do you want to speak the truth? I mean, in my mind, it's a very clear thing, right? You don't do anything before speaking the truth, because you build on something that's not true, it will fail, right? It will fail. But that's the CRD for you. If you look at every record that we have provided the CRD, you will not find a single email, a single text message, a single thing that Ramana or I have ever said to John Doe that was harassing, or any single even verbal incident. I mean, we know what we did. We know we were on the receiving end of a lot of fire from John Doe. And in the toughest of my days, whether it was within Cisco or even after the public fallout in the lawsuit with all the crap that's thrown on me on Twitter, I still do not approach things with anger. I still don't say anything in a moment of anger, right? So that's the CRD for you, right? On the harassment claim. And then there's also a retaliation claim, which I won't go into details, but just to let you know, the dates that they use in the retaliation claim, we know are provably false by written data that John Doe and the CRD is privy to. And to me, that's extremely sad, because you've now gone beyond, what is a reckless indifference to the truth, to something that I believe is perjury, right? So we'll see how that proceeds. But they have information. They have tons of information, not just from me. I sent them more than 50 box folders of data, but they have information from all of his supervisors and all of his managers. He complained against a lot of them, and a lot of people complained on John Doe. And these are written records, and they've hidden all of that to make up the story. And that, to me, is very, very dangerous. When a state agency wants to, prosecute a case this way, litigate by leaving exculpatory evidence, by leaving out critical material evidence, and making a claim, we're in very dangerous territory.
Thank you, Sundar. And viewers, you may want to look up the dictionary on what exculpatory evidence is with respect to American law. That gives you a little bit more insight, a very, very serious thing. Now, Sundar, let's walk back to the time when you decided to do something about this investigation. And there was some churn in the CRD. So let's walk back to maybe beginning of 2023, because these things started happening a lot faster once you and Ramana said enough is enough. So walk us from there up until today. Where does the case stand? And go ahead.
Yeah, so I think two different timelines. The quick thing on the last question, which is from, remember the CRD, in January, we got so sick of the CRD that we filed a motion to sanction the state, right? And in the motion to sanction the state, we were very blunt. It's like, you have filed harassment charges on us as individuals and named and shamed us with no legal or factual basis, right? And just to let you know, that's the bottom of the pyramid, right? Because we're just saying, hey, you did something that has no legal or factual basis. And so they dropped the charges on us. And so since April of 2023, they're still suing Cisco. They only dropped the charges on us, right? So that's just, quick FYI. Of course, we gave them evidence on things that are just structurally off, right? Like, how do you even sue us for caste discrimination when you know all of the positions were first offered to a Dalit or accepted by Dalit, right? Or when John Doe has not applied for, and they have a lot more data, by the way, right? So, but anyway, that's that timeline. In terms of the timeline from June of 2020 to January of 2023, right? That's a pretty long and sordid timeline, because they filed the case, they went to press on the very early day, the very first day, right? And then the activists went to party with it, right? They use allegations as facts for literally the next, all of the years. Not just the activists, but the academics, the great Harvards of the world. You have the so-called social scientist academics who pretend that they're caste experts, and they will use allegations as facts. They'll pick up one data point and malign the whole community, right? And of course, Equality Labs. And I just wanted to give a shout out to 𝗤𝗏𝗼. I just want to let you know, you've spent the last 3+ years shitting on a person who gave every leadership position in his group to a Dalit. So thank you very much. And what have you done? AKSC, they've done the same thing, right? And the amount of hatred, the amount of pushing the narrative, they went to universities, they used the Cisco case, they went to Santa Clara. And of course, I couldn't do anything. I'm just watching that because I was still a defendant in the case. But it's just extremely sad. Even till today, I think Mr. Karthikeyan from AKSC will write comments. He will go to news channels in India, say crap. I'm like, dude, wait for the allegations, right? See if there is any data or fact before you make up stuff and push the narrative, right? But it's hard to rationalize with what some of these organizations do. So it is what it is. But long story short, they then filed for anonymity, which was denied. It went to appeals court. It took about 18 months in appeals court. It's come back to the trial court for them to decide. But that's the reason why we've had almost 2.5 years of limbo on the case.
So by 2021, it was clear that the caste discrimination survey was not going to be part of the case. Am I right?
That's right. That's correct. Feb of 2021, the judge, just for clarity, they submitted the Equality Lab survey. They submitted 250 alleged cases of caste discrimination. This is from Equality Labs. And then there was a third party letter by 30 Dalit women also submitted. All of this, I mean, the letter by the 30 Dalit women is anonymous, no data, no specifics, no witness, no time, date, location, blah. Right? The letter from 𝗤𝗏𝗼 is the same. It's 250 cases. We don't know who they are, where they are, what happened, no specifics whatsoever. The judge threw out each and every survey as well as all of these pieces of information that they submitted. Right? He didn't allow a single piece. And to me, the sad thing, it's not about the judge throwing out. I asked the same question from the CRD, which is, what is it that you guys want? Do you want to win or do you want to speak the truth? I mean, what does 𝗤𝗏𝗼 survey take? Just take one aspect of it, right? 26% of all Dalits in America have been physically assaulted or raped. That's her claim. 67% of Dalits have faced workplace discrimination. You're talking about 25 to 50,000 cases, if these statistics are true, where even if you take 2 orders of magnitude in underreporting, right? Just knock off numbers by 2 orders of magnitude, you still are way more than what you see. We don't have any police reports of these assaults. We don't have any meaningful workplace discrimination numbers, nothing else with the CRD. How does the CRD put this survey out? 𝗤𝗏𝗼 can publish whatever she wants. Good luck to her. She's an activist organization. But the CRD represents the state. The CRD should be neutral. The CRD is supposed to be a fair arbiter. How does the CRD do that? And not once. Something like 6, 7 times the survey has been pushed. The judge threw out the survey. They went to appeals court with that survey. And what did they do in appeals court? They didn't just push the survey. They added even more, spice on the chart, if you will, right? They added allegations of spitting. So like upper caste Indians spit and attack Dalit Americans simply because their caste is known. You throw some random news report. And they tried to push I think 24 press articles and stuff into judicial evidence. And some of these press articles are circular references back to the case. This is the state of California doing this. That is wrong, right? Look, I don't care when you file a lawsuit, go for it. I mean, it's an unfortunate aspect of life, but you are doing things that are unethical, right? And the state should not be allowed to do that. And so that's my focus, right? Whether it be talking to a legislator, to the CRD, to any other organization or body, which is how do we get people to speak the truth, right?
Well, a lot of questions, and I'm sure we'll get some answers. What boggles me to this day, Sundar, is how Equality Labs and 𝗤𝗏𝗼 Soundarajan and her group of activists brazenly tried to ride roughshod and convinced, like for example, the Cal State system, some other universities, that what they were was right, even though it does not stand up in the court. What gives them this hubris, this arrogance?
No, I think that's a great question. My first answer is I was actually shocked because I'm seeing the whole thing play out for the first time, right? Until I was a defendant in the case, I couldn't do anything. I've just been watching this. I saw the Cal State one, right? And I remember seeing this where, of course, they used the Cisco case. They put the statistics, and they were just running with to party. And I remember, uh, what was it? It was, I think there was a resolution. There were those two resolutions, right? The CFA and the CFFA resolutions. And they were so anti-Hindu, talking about caste. And then Cal State University went ahead and added caste. And the brazenness, right, which is no questions asked. Nobody wants to know critical data about the survey. This is, by the way, a pattern. Like I've seen that even if you look at all of SB 403's witnesses, it's a sad thing. I hate saying this, but I looked at all of the Assembly Judiciary, Senate Judiciary, even Appropriations Committee. Every committee, 𝗠𝗏 has given this speech, right, about rapes, assaults, murders, blah, blah, blah. Nobody asked a single question. Not just her, but there are other witnesses they've had. Tarina Mand has been on the show as a witness. The Tech Equity Collective, I think on the Appropriations Committee, she said something like, people are being aggressively searched to know their caste. Her claims. There was, I think there was an FEC chair. She said, literally her words were something like, we know there have been many credible cases of caste discrimination in California, including the Cisco case. Her words. How do you say that? Where are the credible cases of caste discrimination? There's no other case other than the main one, the Cisco one. How is it even credible? There's a motion to sanctions. The data and facts. But I mean, how do all of these people make up so much facts without a single critical question? That is what we need to understand to build a better America, right? To build a better California. And so that's to me, some people will twist the system. That's life. You can't do that. But there are a lot of good people. You look at our own legislatures. There are a lot of good people. We talk to a normal, whether it be a progressive or a Republican or whatever. On the whole, most people want to be rational, right? They want to do the right thing. They may have their political bickering and blah, and this is civil rights bill versus blah, but they try to do the right thing. But somewhere along the process, they're either misled or they stop their critical thinking. Or, of course, there's a huge party whip, or God knows what happens on the political backside, right? I have no clue. Something is happening, right, that prevents these people from being blunt and asking questions. Forget some of these folks. Let me give you two concrete examples. I'm going to talk about 𝗏𝗃 𝗓𝗏 and Jasmeet Bains, right? Just to say this. Let me start with Jasmeet Bains. She was given my number. And I actually jumped in on a quick meeting to let her know there was a conference call or something. And it said, I would love to speak to you, right? And she's been limited 3 to 4 times to speak with me. And one of the senators gave her my number. And I think the very first thing, so she never gave me time, FYI. Till today, she's never called me, spoken to me, one-on-one, nothing, right? And I think the first call I was on her, she said, this bill will pass. But literally, it was like a 5-minute thing. She reduced some 30-minute session to 5. I was invited into a call. She said the bill will pass, and she looks at me and whatever. And I'm like, Ms. Bains, I'm not here to talk politics with you, right? This is what I want to tell. I'm not here to talk about whether the bill will pass or not. I just want to let you know one thing. The CRD assigned caste to a Sikh employee of mine. Don't you believe that is wrong? Right? And she's a Sikh American. She said that. She's a proud Sikh American. She didn't even give me a chance to bring that topic. She never even got back to me. That's all I wanted to tell her. Like, you may want to think about maybe some safeguards in SB 403. Right? I'm not telling you what to do with your bill. Is it right? Is it wrong? Whatever. I'm just asking you questions. You're so proud of your Sikh American constituency, or you being the first Sikh American. To me, it doesn't matter, right? That's her identity. Fine. To me, it's just human, right? Fine. You want to define your identity as a Sikh American woman. Do you want to spend a little bit of time to understand some of the issues, right? Some of the safeguards you may need, right? How does this, you need to prevent the state from assigning your caste. Anyway, that's Jasmeet Bains for you, right? I spoke to 𝗏𝗃 𝗓𝗏, right? And people say, oh, 𝗏𝗃 𝗓𝗏, I'll vote the way 𝗏𝗃 𝗓𝗏 votes. Some of these legislators say. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of a weird statement, right? Because You want people to vote based on first principles. And I'm like, I'm not here to ask you how you vote, right? I'm here to ask you structural questions, right? Of course, survey, data, blah. But I spoke to Ash Kalra and I asked him a very simple question, because I know he's progressive, he's the head of the progressives in the assembly. They have their own agenda, God knows what, and blah. And I'm like, Ash, I don't want to know any of that. I'm here to tell you about the Cisco case. I'm here to tell you my story about what happened with the CRD. Do you want to consider some safeguards, right? The CRD is essentially called all of my team upper caste, right? Do you want to consider some safeguards? No follow-up to that conversation. And that's sad, right? I don't care that Ash Kalra is Hindu. Like, I'm fighting this fight not because I'm Hindu, right? I'm an agnostic, I'm irreligious. I'm fighting this fight for whoever gets affected. Right now, Hindu Americans are being affected. And I actually saw some of the weird things on the internet when people comment when I, give a video, whatever. It's like, oh, why are we supporting Sundar? He's not even a Hindu or something. And I'm like, I don't even comment on the internet, but I would say, I'm not asking for support from Hindu groups. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. I've come here to support groups. I've come here to support every group. It doesn't have to be Hindu. It could be an religious, it could be an atheist group. I'm just coming here to speak the truth, right? This journey for me is not about me. Look, I'm already roadkill and it's okay. It's life. The universe doesn't know me shit, right? I always say that. Look, I've had extremely tough days. I want to tell you why I'm doing this journey. I believe the CRD, the way that they behaved, along with activists and, of course, the great mainstream press of ours, the way they write stories and the way they ruin people's lives in their single mission to win, will result in the death of a Californian manager, 100% guarantee. Because what I went through, I've gone through some of the darkest days of my life. I've woken up, 4 or 5 days of a week. I've woken up at 3 and 4 in the morning on days. Because, when you see the crap that's thrown at you, right? The level of, being called castes and blah, and, you have the DMK channels on the other side of the country. It's just, it's insane. For what, right? For doing so much for, for everybody in my group. But I'm here to fight that fight because I want to prevent bad things from happening, right? So anyway, sorry, I think I got distracted, but yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So I'm not here to ask help from people. I'm here to help people and also make sure that we do things better, whether it be a legislature or the CRD.
Thank you so much, Sundar. We have really opened our eyes to what happens when something like this is going to start playing out in real life. And let's hope and pray that sanity prevails now. And I don't know what the California state is going to do, because there's many campuses. Are they going to take a pause now because the governor has refused to sign it? Are they going to go back and say, these are all some of the smartest people on earth, yet they made a very dumb decision? I mean, they need to understand, I have to hit them where it hurts most. If you are going to be creating the next generation of thinkers, how good a thinker are you?
Yeah.
I'm asking this question of all those universities that have decided that we shall add caste discrimination. Thank you so much, Sundar. And I have no doubt in my mind that we're going to have more conversations like this. See, this is one thing where, neither you nor I, we didn't put any histrionics into this. We didn't put any emotion into this. We are saying this was the data. These were the facts. Yeah. And you guys found it right to, use whatever judgment you had and did the wrong thing. And what a waste of taxpayer money. That's what I worry about. California is losing a lot of money. You have to say something and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah, I just want to actually quickly mention your Cal State University thing. I mean, I was just reading up some of the public documents on the court case. And here's something very funny you find. CSU went and defined caste, right? I mean, sorry, went and defined caste as a protected category, right? Or whatever they did, they added it in their thing. And they, in the lawsuit, it says that CSU never defined caste. They just, and I think they've gone through discovery and stuff. And there's a beautiful passage in the lawsuit where they show that they go into a meeting, they keep a lawyer there, so it's privileged, so you don't know what happened in the meeting. Obviously, they defined and tried to define the term. They couldn't come up with a meaningful term, right, which was not either discriminatory, which is, either calling it as a Hindu thing, because that's what their student resolutions did, or come up with a random definition that would be overbroad. So what did they do? They didn't define the term. So the FAQ in CSU, right? If you go through the FAQ, question number 1 is, what is caste? Do you know the answer to that? The answer to what is caste says, go straight into information about, since caste is protected, we think blah, whatever. There's no definition. They skirt the definition right there, right? I mean, you would have to, there's no other brazen way for a university to have an FAQ and just completely skirt the definition because they don't want to get into legal trouble. And this is, I go back to the same thing. When you try to screw with the truth, you will end up making bad to worse decisions, right? Which you cannot hide, right? So I don't know where that lawsuit is going to go, right? Eventually, they're being sued, but it's just a sad state. And it's even sad to see CSU defend itself, right? Their 2 resolutions, the student and faculty resolutions, were clearly anti-Hindu, and with equality labs and all the references to, of course, and Cisco case. And it is just, you can see the discriminatory intent right there. And I ask, why? If you're the chancellor of CSU, is it better for you to fight a court case? Or is it better for you to say, look, guys, let's do the right thing. We may have screwed up. Let's fix this damn thing. Let's wait for the governor to decide on SB 403 and let's see how hard it is to speak the truth. I don't understand. And I asked the CRD the same thing, So, but I'll leave you with that.
Thank you so much, Sundar. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. You really need to subscribe to our channel. Out of 100 people, only 41 still are not subscribed. And I would like to see everybody subscribing, because then you get notified with all our videos as and when they appear. As you can see here, we have to do a lot of research to make sure we bring you the facts. And it's up to you to decide what you want to do with your future, because this is definitely going to affect your future. By no means is the governors rejecting the law, rejecting to sign the law, end of the story. This is just beginning. And I'm sure we'll be back with Sundar as we, where this thing goes through a few more twists and turns. Thank you once again, Sundar. Thanks for the gift of your time, and namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.